The Opinion with Michael J. It's Saturday, Saturday, April the 26th, 2025. And in 2 days, people will be going to the to polls to vote in Canada. Now, your vote matters. You need to get your vote out there. It's up to you, though. But if you want your voice to be heard, you need to cast a ballot. And then people say, well, I cast a ballot, but my voice is not heard. Just because the election did not turn out the way that you wished or desired does not mean that you have not been heard. It's the construct of the mind that creates that fallacy that you have not been heard. Your vote is important no matter how the election turns out or falls. Let the chips fall where they may fall. So that's the important thing. The real thing from that conversation that I presented, or scenario that I presented, is the question you need to ask yourself is, are you your mind? We're not going there this video. We're going to move on to my favorite topic. You say, what's your favorite topic, Michael? It's Jordan B. Peterson. This guy has lost his way. Now, do I say that? Yes, I did say that. Now, that, of course, is a personal opinion. He may not agree. He may disagree with that. That's okay. That's open for discussion. And I'm not sure I'll go one-on-one to discuss it with him because I'm not really up to wasting too much time. Time is precious. So we're going to listen to this lovely lady. This is Lisa B0923. She makes a lot of sense. It's unbelievable. The fact that man has not realized, for the most part, women are a lot smarter than you think, boys. So here we are with Lisa. Take it away, Lisa.
I'm sure a lot of you have seen the clip of Jordan B. Peterson on Joe Rogan talking about Carney. Hold on.
Oh, is he going to win? It seems like he's...
The polls certainly indicate that.
Yeah.
And maybe with a majority government. And I can see why. Like, Canadians were accustomed to having everything go pretty well. And we could be morally superior to you Americans, because that was also fun.
The pregnant pause before he answers. The deep inhale and exhale. And then he talks about why he thinks Carney's going to win.
Observer from afar that Pierre was gaining steam, and it looked like he was going to win.
Oh.
And they seem to have taken the wind right out of his sails.
Well, two things happened. Trudeau resigned. Oh, yeah, the Liberals were headed for extinction. It was going to be the worst defeat of a governing party in Canada ever. They might have lost their official party status. So they were done. Well, they pivoted, brought in Carney, who'd been advising Trudeau. He's put himself up as an outsider, a competent outsider, a lot of private experience in the private domain, a steady hand at the helm. It's like you were Trudeau's economic advisor for 10 years. 10 years.
Now, make no mistake, he doesn't like Carney. So he rambles on for another 12 or so minutes. And yes, I watched the whole thing. 3 hours of them bouncing back and forth, talking about things like the vaccine, religion, because that's Jordan's new passion. It's just all sorts of blah, blah, blah. But this is the clip that people want to see.
First date. Yeah, well, that's what happened. So two things.
Yes,
back to that.
That was the big one.
Carney showed up just in the nick of time to save the burning damsel from the train tracks, or whatever the hell it is. And
the rhetoric.
And then Trump.
Poetic.
He just timed it so badly. And he didn't know. He didn't know what it would do. He didn't know. But that's also...
How do you not know that people have national pride?
Yeah, he knew that, but he didn't know what the electoral consequences would be.
Jordan is just so sad. Trump didn't know. The man who's wreaking havoc on the entire planet, the maggots who think he is the next coming of Christ, didn't know. And so while our own maple maggots keep saying, why do people keep bringing up Trump? It's not an issue. But, well, it is. Jordan said it. Trump has fucked it over for Pierre, which is just chef's kiss, because Trump is a threat to Canada. He remains a threat to Canada. And this is why.
Once Carney is elected, if that happens, Trump will not have a more seasoned enemy in the West.
Boy.
Right? Carney's very well connected. Very. Especially in Europe and the UK.
And that is the endorsement. Because Carney does know, whereas Donald doesn't. And that's got to shake them to their core. I just want to pull up a few things from the 3 hours that I watched.
Kept getting talked over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jagmeet Singh.
Fascinating.
He's such
watch.
fun with his pink turban.
Yeah.
He's such a fashion icon. Luckily, he's going to lose his own seat, and his party's going to be devastated. That's the socialists. They're going to be devastated so badly that they won't have official party status.
Okay, number one. I don't think a man wearing a suit with piping should be making fun of anybody for being a fashion icon. Number two, did you see the way his devil eyes squinted with maniacal glee that the NDP might lose status? Dude's not okay.
False weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more particularly, because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing and
Right.
waving your flags,
Right.
but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit? You know,
It's pretty easy to me.
you can tell the tyrants. They use fear and compulsion, and they don't use invitation. So one of the rules we put together for ARC was invitation only. Play, we're going to do this playfully,
Yeah.
and we're not going to use force or fear, ever. You have to
Yeah.
use invitation. And so I don't know what you think about that. Imagine it's the distinguishing characteristic between the wannabe tyrants and the true leaders. Leaders say, here's an offer. Would you accept this of your own free will? And the tyrants say, the apocalypse is coming, and everything, and
Yeah.
we are allowed to do everything to forestall it.
Kind of like Canada's broken. Kind of like as part of his platform, Pierre's gonna mandate people to go into treatment, forcibly hold them. Tyrant. Anyway, in the 3 hours, there was a lot of hypocrisy. Shocker. Again, they bounce around to so many topics. Like, I'm neurotypical. I couldn't bounce around. So make no mistake, Jordan is not endorsing Carney. He's talking about the inevitable while promoting his book and his school. But I'll leave you with this. I think it kind of sums it up. Might give us a little bit of insight into Jordan.
It's freedom.
I have a big dent here from when a meteorite landed on me when I was a kid.
A meteorite.
Uh-oh.
Explains a lot.
Uh-oh. A meteorite, eh? Jeez. Sorry to hear that, Jordan. So, that was quite illuminating, if you're paying attention. Now, I'm going to make another point in respect to Pierre Poilievre. Talks about the rule of law and how important the rule of law is. Meanwhile, he does not respect the rule of law. And you ask, well, how can you say that, Michael? He's always talking about the rule of law. Well, if he respected the rule of law, he would not, in the leaders' debate, state unequivocally that he's going to use the notwithstanding clause. I rest my case. I made my point. Now, we're going to pivot to one more direction. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. People, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. Tom Hartman, great guy. Vishay, Canadian, great guy. So, let's see what these gentlemen have to say. This is within, 24 hours this got posted.
In addition to being an econ expert, you are also formerly a Canadian.
Right.
You came here from Canada. And so, you know, you're far more familiar with the politics of that nation than I am. I'm reading I've only read this in a couple of places, and I saw kind of a glancing reference to it in the Financial Times a week or so ago, that Mark Carney, the current prime minister, or functioning prime minister of Canada, who was formerly the chairman of the equivalent of the Fed, both for the UK and Canada, the central banks. For
very unusual to be the head of two central banks. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, so this is a guy who is as expert as you can get about how bond markets work and how to screw other countries. That, you know, after he gave that speech in which he said this long-term relationship, this 200-year relationship between Canada and the United States is now gone. It's now ruptured. It's dead. That apparently he reached out to several European countries and Japan and said, collectively, we hold around $5 trillion in U.S. treasuries. Let's start dumping them. And it was that concerted effort to dump treasuries that caused Trump to freak out and back off on his tariffs. Have you seen any confirmation of that?
I've not seen confirmation of it. I've seen that reporting, and it makes a lot of sense, because if there's a leader in the world who can convince other central banks and other leaders about an economic way to push back against Donald Trump, it's Mark Carney. This guy knows more about how the global economy works than most people who run countries, number one. Number two, he's recently elected. He ran for the leadership of the Liberal Party, and he won. You'll remember before the election, Justin Trudeau was the Prime Minister of Canada. He was running depending on what polls you looked at, 20 to 25 points behind. There was no election at the time. 20 to 25 points behind a populist conservative leader. No way out of this. Justin Trudeau stepped down. Mark Carney wins the nomination. Now, Mark Carney is all the things you said he is. He's a great economist. He ran the Central Bank. That's not really sexy for people, right? He's the kind of guy you want if things are tough. Then Donald Trump comes into office, talks about annexing Canada, puts these tariffs on Canada. It's going to send Canada into a recession. And Mark Carney calls an election, which he had to do because he had been elected the leader of the party. He calls the election. He's probably going to win a majority. So his party was 20 to 25 points behind. Open voting just started yesterday, I think, early voting in Canada. Lineups to do this. And they are going to sweep the country, in my opinion, because Canadians have decided, after looking at Donald Trump in America, we don't want this nonsense. You keep your crazy. We don't want crazy politicians here. We don't want crazy politicians there. We would like normal people who can run an economy, because all around the world, people are concerned about the economy. Just run this thing properly and smoothly and quietly. I'm hoping Canada might be a message to the world to say, you do not need this kind of crazy. Step back from the brink. All this populist nonsense, it's not working for Argentina. It's not working for Turkey. It's not working for India. It's not working for Hungary. It's not working for anybody right now.
In addition to being an econ expert.
That is correct. It is not working for anybody. And for the people that do not understand what annexation is, Trump has gone on the record recently with the Times interview, and he's looking to annexate Canada. You know what annexation is? It's taken over another territory. Do you understand that? Annexation is taking over other territories. You start off with economic war, and where's it going to go? Just like Pierre Poilievre not understanding or not respecting the rule of law the way he says he respects and understands the rule of law, because if you understood the rule of law, then there'd be no need for you to exercise the option of the notwithstanding clause. And it really is as simple as that, folks. Now, another thing I'm going to point out quickly, because I don't want this to be a long one, and that is Ezra Levant, Rebel News. Now, his Rebel News, from my perspective, this is a personal opinion, of course, it's called The Opinion, disrupted the leaders' debate. Juno News disrupted the leaders' debate, because for the most part they brought up, from my point of view, nonsensical questions that really had no merit or relevance to the leaders now, or at that time were on the podiums representing their parties for a leaders' debate to show who would lead the country, and for the people to make the decision based on those debates. Nonetheless, this was 18 hours ago. Ezra posted this with Rebel News. Spent a lot of money on this because, he took a flight to Dublin, ended up in the Isle of Man. And you know how close the Isle of Man is to the Guernsey Islands? Very close. There's things that go on there that have been going on for a long time, Ezra, that maybe you're not aware of. Maybe this is new to you. But my truths, my knowledge, may be different from yours. And I hope you can respect that, because you're just taking the people down another rabbit hole that's just egocentric by its motivation and leads nowhere. So, the byline is, I followed the trail of Mark Carney's money laundering scheme. Now, Ezra, you're a certified lawyer, right? Are you abusing that privilege because of that certificate to influence people? Because now you're saying you're following Mark Carney's money laundering scheme. Meanwhile, it's about Brookfield. And you got to look at this here, because I just stopped. I'm not going to go into the video. I just stopped it here. And this is the most important thing you have to understand. He's making a point. He's leading you down a certain personal, because it's personal bias here, it has to be. Because if you look here, notified on the 26th of August, 2005. So, if this happened in August 2005, you have to understand that that was 3 years before Mark Carney became the bank governor of Canada. So he had no business interest with Brookfield. And that's my point. Everybody's trying to say Brookfield is Mark Carney's company. They're making inferences that Mark Carney is laundering money, but Brookfield is a separate company, originally the Brazil Light and Power Company, geez, it came back to me, of 1959, bought by a company called Edper, controlled by two Bronfman brothers, which morphed into a company called Brascan, who actually I had a relative worked for Brascan in Brazil, believe it or not. So there's more going on to life than people realize. But you give credibility to people that maybe you should question and say, ask the right questions and understand what has merit and what does not have merit. And that evolves too, I'm going to take it a step further, to the Generation Z. Z or Z? Gen Z? Canadians. Because it was rather disturbing when I watched that video, because a lot of them are really not looking at the micro and macroeconomic factors at play and understanding how those shifts have created an affordability crisis and a housing crisis. And they're getting stumped on the slogans and the platitudes. There's two guys there that actually are looking outside the box, but I just wanted to make that point known. So there we go. There we go. Now we're going to cut this right off. So we got to vote. It's up to you to cast your ballot. You want your voice heard? Cast a vote. If it doesn't turn out the way you expected, that's life. Chips fall the way they fall. It's just like going to a casino. No different. But your voice was heard, It was acknowledged. It just may not have turned out the way you expected. That's life. Things happen that way. Pick yourself up, move forward, and understand what's going on so you can make a more educated or understand what is important to actually make a difference versus your own self-interest. So there we go. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. And remember, love and peace to everyone. Kindness starts within, from you, the person. It starts with you. Kindness starts with you. Take care. Talk to you all soon. Ciao.